Right, so this is the pin Circlip Fusion 360 modeling tutorial, and the learning objectives are to understand the difference between bottom-up and top-down assemblies, understanding the basics of constraints, and learning the difference between construction lines and normal lines. Hopefully we'll be able to do that by modeling this pin Circlip. As you can see, the dimensions are on the top right, and the method we're going to be taking to model this is by, well, first of all, by sketching, just like with the tutorial block, but a bit more complex, then extruding it and finally filleting it. This should be a chamfer of 0.2 millimeters, by the way, not 0.1 millimeters. So without further ado, let's get started. Click on Fusion 360, and before we do anything, let's save this workspace. So we go up onto the top left and select Save. And now we can save wherever we want it. So for instance, in the tutorial block, you should have made the CAD tutorial project and the separate components folder. Then we can name it as pin Circlip. Circlip, just like that. So now I can save. Now, before we start modeling, I need to quickly explain what the difference between top-down and bottom-up assemblies are, because the way Surrey wants you to model this hoist assembly is a bottom-up assembly. So, the assembly consists of components, and I have two pretty much identical components here. They're two identical assemblies here. They're tables, apart from the only difference is the width, but also because of the way that they are assembled. This one has all of the components modeled within this virtual workspace. You can see the sketch here, the extrude, it's all here. If I move back the timeline, as you can see, it's only the table visible, and you can see where the sketches are to make this table, so on and so forth. However, the way Surrey wants you to model this is by a bottom-up assembly approach. And essentially that means that when you do create this model, instead of modeling everything in that virtual workspace like it was for the top-down assembly, you're instead going to model them and essentially derive them and reference from different files. So you can see here, there's a chain locking icon here for the tabletop, and that's because it's referencing this tabletop model from this file here. So this is the process you're going to be doing. You're going to be, when you do your assemblies, you're going to be referencing all of your separate components into your assemblies, which is why we have those two separate folders. So let's get started off by modeling the Circlip. Now, before we get modeling, once again, we've got one more thing to do, and that's by going up and creating a new component. We cannot apply joints to bodies. They need to be components. So we can label them as pin Circlip. And then once we create this new component, everything we do, we sketch, we extrude, will be set inside this pin Circlip as well as the timeline. And you can see that this dot here means that the component activated is our pin Circlip. So once we have many components working together, if we want to edit one specific component, we can just select this activate component. If you want to get rid of that, you can just go up into the assembly and then select pretty much this assembly, which activates everything. So once again, just make sure that is activated, and now we can get started. So we're going to start off by moving our mouse to the top left, selecting Create Sketch, and then selecting the ZX plane. And then that brings us to our top view. Now we're going to look at the dimensions. We can see it's got an outer radius of 5.5 millimeters and an internal radius of 3.3 millimeters. Because Fusion refers circles as diameters, that means an outside diameter of 11 millimeters and an internal diameter of 6.6 millimeters. So we're going to go up into center diameter circle, select the datum, oh, that's not quite the datum, select the origin and type in 11. Oh, there we go. And then type 6.6. And there we go. That is the circle. To get out of this circle area, you can just select escape, and then you can just start clicking and dragging around, and it's all good. So the next dimensions we've got to see. So there's a circle up here, but there's also a smaller circle down here. So to do that, we need to find that center point, and that is 5 millimeters from this datum. So we're going to go up into line and actually now make something called a construction line. So before we do that, I'm going to quickly go over what that is. So this, you've seen this before, a normal line in Fusion 360. I can move it around and it's blue, meaning I can move it around, whereas black means I can't move it around. However, if I were to select this line, go over to my sketch palette and then select the construction button, we can see this line has now turned dash, and this is a construction line. Now the main difference between the two is that the construction line doesn't interfere with profile faces. So as you can see, this is still a full face even though there's a line going through it. Whereas if I were to select this and then deselect the construction tool, you can see that the faces are now being split up. Now the reason why we would use this is so we can add constraints, which is what we're going to do now. So we're going to select this, select construction line, and now we're going to make sure that this point here is dragged onto this center point. So now if I try to move this, you can see it's locked onto this datum. I'm going to bring this down. Now what you could just put it, drag and drop it onto this green line. You can also use this horizontal and vertical constraint to make it perfectly vertical. And now we can just dimension this to 5 millimeters. Let's just check if that's correct. Yep, 5 millimeters. And we know that this smaller circle below has a radius of 3 millimeters. So that means a diameter of 6 millimeters. So I do that. There we go. All good. So now we're going to do another construction line. So click that. Then the line type L, in your sketch palette. The shortcut key for that is X, by the way. So by clicking X, as you can see, it's changing from construction to normal. We're going to select this side here and label it as 1. Now this is the gap between. So this is where the construction line is going to end. So what we're going to do, we're going to bring it down, make sure that it connects with that interior diameter. And now we're going to turn off construction line and then connect this point down to here. Now, while we could just connect that, let's say we want to get better with our constraints. So let's not quite connect it there. And let's go up into coincident, select this endpoint, and then this circle here. And as you can see, that's now connected very nicely. Now we're going to go back into our dimensions and we can see that it's 1.8 millimeters. So we're going to do that one more time. I'm going to go into line, construction, select this center point, 1.8 millimeters, go outwards, and then this should be 5.5 millimeters if I remember correctly. So 5.5, there we go. And then I can click escape. So now I'm going to select X to make sure the line type is, the construction line is off. And I'm going to do another one with a diameter of 1 millimeters. There we go. Cool. Now, that's all of this side done. So we've got to do the same on the other side. Now, while we could do this, we could do the same thing again, do a construction line, and then do a circle, do another construction line, and another line. That can take a bit of time. And because we can just mirror it, to be honest, because it's symmetrical, let's mirror. So we're going to select the mirror icon here, select the lines we want to mirror, and now select our mirror line, our kind of mirror line, essentially. I'm going to click OK. And there we go. As you can see, our outline is done. Now we can do one more thing here to make it a bit more neat. We can use the trim tool to just select the lines we don't want to use, and we can start to get rid of them. And as you can see, it's making it much more neat. But you have to be careful with this because, so you can see there, I deleted this line here, but by doing that, it's then made this line blue. And as you can see, it's now no longer constrained, and I can move it. And we don't want that. We want to make sure that everything stays black so that if we go onto our left here, sketches, we have this red lock. So make sure that when you are using trim, you're being very careful to not make anything unconstrained. So that is absolutely perfect. So that's the sketch done. We can move our mouse to the top right and select Finish Sketch. That will take us out of our sketching menu. Now we're going to turn the sketch into a 3D model by moving our mouse up to the top left and selecting Extrude. We're going to click that, select our profile face, and bring it up by 1.5 millimeters. And then I'm going to select OK, and that's all done. Now, all we need to do is add a 0.2 chamfer to everything. Now, just like with a tutorial block, we could click every line, but that's going to take a long time, and we don't want to waste we don't want to waste our precious time here. So let's click, drag everything, and do 0.2 millimeters. And there we go. That is everything done. So I'm going to click OK. And now finally, I'm going to save. And that is the pin circlip.